The last of her kind. Another calibration error. Captain Sarah Chen sighed, watching the holographic status display flicker above her command station. The Horizon's bridge seemed dimmer than usual, the old-style physical controls casting long shadows in the reduced lighting. Another power conservation measure that had become routine. Not an error, Captain. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez replied from her engineering station, her fingers dancing across tactile buttons that modern ships had long since abandoned. The quantum sensors are working exactly as designed. They just weren't designed to work with our power grid. Chen nodded, a wry smile crossing her face. The Horizon was the last Pathfinder-class vessel still in active service, a relic from humanity's early days of deep space exploration. While the United Earth Fleet had upgraded to sleek, standardized vessels with neural interfaces and AI-driven systems, the Horizon stubbornly maintained her older, more mechanical nature. "Switch back to conventional sensors," Chen ordered. "Better to have reliable data than perfect readings we can't trust." The bridge crew worked in practiced silence, the soft clicking of physical switches and quiet hum of analog displays a sharp contrast to the whisper-quiet operation of modern bridges. They were 15 light-years from the nearest UEF outpost, patrolling the edge of known space where the gleaming new ships rarely ventured. "Captain," Commander David Park called from his tactical station, "I'm picking up something odd on the gravimetric array." He adjusted a dial, frowning at the readout. It's either a sensor ghost or something big. Really big." Chen rose from her chair, crossing to Park's station. The gravimetric array was old technology, measuring distortions in local spacetime rather than the quantum fluctuations modern ships relied on. The display showed a massive disturbance, like ripples in a pond spreading outward from a point about 2 light-hours distant. "How big are we talking about, Commander?" Park's fingers flew over his keypad, running calculations. "Based on the gravitational displacement, at least 30 kilometers across. But it's not maintaining a consistent mass reading. It's almost like it's shifting." "Shifting?" Rodriguez asked, joining them at tactical. "That's not possible. Not for something that size." Before Chen could respond, a new alert sounded. The harsh, mechanical tone of the Horizon's proximity warning system. Red warning lights bathed the bridge in their glow as multiple contacts appeared on their sensors. 5 vessels just dropped out of FTL, Park reported, his voice tense. "Configuration unknown. They're not broadcasting any recognition codes." Chen returned to her command chair, studying the tactical display. The unknown ships moved with an unnatural precision, their formation too perfect to be guided by organic pilots. Communications. No response on any frequency. Lieutenant James Wilson reported from communications. "I'm trying some of the older protocols, but..." He was cut off as his console erupted in sparks, forcing him to jump back. "They're scanning us," Rodriguez called out, her eyes wide as she read the sensor data. "But these aren't normal scans. They're trying to interface with our systems." Chen watched as system after system reported interference attempts, but something was wrong. The attacks seemed to slide off the Horizon's older architecture, unable to find purchase in the ship's analog systems. "They're using quantum-based cyber warfare," Rodriguez realized, a note of amazement in her voice. "But our systems are too old, too simple. There's nothing for their attacks to latch onto." The tactical display suddenly shifted, showing weapons charging across all 5 enemy vessels. Chen had seconds to make a decision. The Horizon was outgunned, outmassed, and seemingly outclassed by these mysterious attackers. But they'd also just revealed a crucial weakness. They'd expected to face modern human ships, not an obsolete vessel like the Horizon. "Battle stations," Chen ordered, her voice steady. "Rodriguez, take us to full power. Conventional systems only. Park, plot me a solution using the magnetic accelerator cannons." "The MACs?" Park asked, surprised. "Captain, those aren't what our friends out there are expecting." Chen finished for him. They want to dance with ghosts in the machine. Let's show them what solid-state engineering can do. The Horizon's ancient engines roared to life, their deep rumble transmitting through the hull. Another flaw in the ship's design that modern vessels had eliminated. But Chen knew that every vibration, every imperfection in the Horizon's systems made her more unpredictable, more human. As the first enemy shots streaked across space, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Horizon might be the last of her kind, but sometimes the old ways were the best ways. And she was about to prove it. The massive coil guns that ran the length of the Horizon's hull began to charge, their magnetic fields building to levels that would have interfered catastrophically with modern quantum systems. But the Horizon's shielded analog controls remained steady, unaffected by the electromagnetic chaos building within the weapon systems. First contact, Chen murmured, watching the enemy ships maneuver with their impossible precision. Let's make it count. The battle that followed would change humanity's understanding of both their past and their future. But for now, in this moment, Captain Sarah Chen and the crew of the Horizon prepared to demonstrate why diversity in engineering philosophy wasn't just valuable, it was essential for survival. The Horizon might have been dismissed as obsolete, but she was about to prove that sometimes the best solutions aren't always the newest ones. Sometimes they're the ones that have stood the test of time, waiting for the moment when they're needed most. First contact, first blood. The first barrage from the Horizon's magnetic accelerator cannons split the void like lightning. Solid metal slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed. There was no sophisticated targeting AI, no quantum-guided projectiles. Just Newtonian physics on a massive scale. Impact in 3, 2, 1. Commander Park counted down, his hand steady on the fire control station. The lead alien vessel didn't attempt to evade. Why would it? Modern energy shields could easily deflect kinetic weapons, which was precisely why humanity had largely abandoned them. But the Horizon's slugs weren't designed to penetrate shields. They were designed to overwhelm them. The impact was spectacular. The alien vessel's shields flared brilliant purple, trying to absorb the massive kinetic energy. But physics couldn't be fooled by quantum mechanics. The sheer momentum transferred by the impact sent the alien ship spinning, its perfect formation broken. Direct hit. Park called out, but Captain Chen was already moving to the next phase. Rodriguez, give me everything you can to the engines. Wilson, start broadcasting on all frequencies. Maximum power, full spectrum. The crew might have questioned these orders on a modern vessel, but they'd served with Chen long enough to trust her instincts. The Horizon's engines screamed as Rodriguez pushed them beyond recommended limits, while Wilson's communications array began pumping out electromagnetic noise across every wavelength. The alien vessels responded instantly, their weapon systems charging with an eerie green glow. But their formation was ragged now, their perfect synchronization disrupted by the Horizon's unexpected attack. They're using some kind of quantum-entangled targeting system, Rodriguez reported, studying her readings. But our EM broadcast is creating interference. They can't get a lock. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Modern UEF ships relied on quantum communications, precisely targeted and virtually impossible to jam. But the Horizon's old-fashioned radio transmitters could flood space with broad-spectrum interference, playing havoc with delicate quantum states. Multiple impacts. Park warned as the alien ships opened fire. Their energy weapons were devastating, designed to bypass modern defensive systems. But the Horizon's hull was built differently. Layers of titanium alloy and ceramic composite, with vacuum gaps between them. The energy weapons that would have sliced through quantum-aligned armor instead dispersed across the layers, their power dissipated by the very inefficiencies that modern engineers scorned. Hull integrity at 82%, Rodriguez reported. The layered armor is working better than it should. Their weapons, it's like they don't know how to handle simple materials. That's because they've never had to, Chen realized. They're used to fighting ships that try to outsmart them. We're just trying to outlast them. The battle continued. a dance of old and new technologies. The alien vessels moved with impossible grace, but their attacks seemed increasingly erratic. It was as if they couldn't comprehend a ship that didn't behave according to their predictions. "Captain," Wilson called out suddenly, "I'm picking up new signatures. 3 UEF vessels just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system." Chen's heart sank as she recognized the signal patterns. Artemis-class destroyers, the pride of the modern fleet, state-of-the-art everything. From their quantum-scaled armor to their AI-driven tactical systems, they were exactly what these aliens seemed designed to fight. "This is Captain Raman of the UEF Intrepid." A voice crackled over their comm system. "Stand down, Horizon. We'll handle this." Before Chen could respond, the alien vessels shifted their attention to the newcomers. Their perfect formation instantly restored, they moved with devastating purpose toward the UEF ships. "The Intrepid's launching quantum torpedoes," Park reported, watching the battle unfold. "No effect. Their shields aren't even registering the hits. Oh God." The alien weapons fired in perfect synchronization. Green energy beams sliced through the quantum-aligned armor of the UEF ships like it wasn't there. The Intrepid's shields, designed to handle any known weapon, collapsed instantly. "They're not even trying to survive," Rodriguez whispered. "Their systems are too sophisticated to adapt. They're fighting exactly the way the aliens expected them to fight." Chen watched as the UEF ship's automated systems attempted to compensate, their AIs running through billions of calculations per second trying to find a solution. But that was the problem. They were trying to solve a puzzle that couldn't be solved with pure logic. "Get me a firing solution on the alien flagship," Chen ordered. "All keys, maximum charge, and Rodriguez." "Yes, Captain." "Divert power from the inertial dampeners. I want these shots to have every bit of energy we can give them." The crew braced themselves as the Horizon stabilization systems powered down. They could feel the ship's vibrations now, every imperfection in the engine's rhythm transmitting through the hull. It wasn't efficient. It wasn't elegant. But it was human. "Firing solution ready," Park reported, his knuckles white on his console. Chen took a deep breath, feeling the throb of her ship's ancient heart. "Let's remind everyone why humanity reached the stars in the first place. Fire. Hidden strengths." The Horizon's magnetic accelerator cannon spoke as one, their combined recoil making the entire ship shudder. Without inertial dampeners, the crew felt every bit of the massive energy release, their bodies straining against their safety harnesses. But the reduced power to stabilization systems meant more energy for the weapons, and they needed every joule they could get. The massed volley caught the alien flagship as it completed its attack run on the crippled UEF vessels. Multiple armor-piercing slugs, each carrying the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon, struck in rapid succession. The alien ship's shields flared brilliantly, trying to absorb the impossible amount of raw kinetic energy. "Their shields are failing," Rodriguez called out, her voice barely audible over the groaning of the Horizon's overtaxed hull. "But our NACs are offline. Coolant systems are redlining." Chen watched as the alien flagship's shields finally collapsed, its perfect geometry marred by impact craters from the Horizon's primitive but devastatingly effective weapons. But even as the flagship reeled, its companion vessels were already moving to protect it, their weapons charging for another salvo. "Engineering to bridge." A new voice crackled over the comm. Chief Engineer Sandra Martinez, her words punctuated by the sound of emergency klaxons. "Captain, I think I've figured something out about their weapons technology. You need to see this." "Kind of busy right now, Chief," Chen replied, watching as the alien vessels regrouped for another attack. "Give me the short version." "Their weapons, they're too perfect." Martinez's excitement was clear even through the static. "Look at the energy signatures. Every shot is identical, down to the quantum level. They're not actually firing energy weapons. They're creating localized quantum fields that disrupt modern shield harmonics." Rodriguez's eyes widened as she pulled up the sensor data. That's why they're so effective against UEF ships. Modern shields are quantum-aligned. They're literally tuned to the exact frequency these weapons are designed to disrupt. But our shields, Chen began, are a mess. Martinez finished triumphantly. Overlapping electromagnetic fields, gravitic distortion, good old-fashioned ablative armor. We're using a dozen different technologies that were never properly integrated. It's completely inefficient and completely unpredictable, Chen realized. They can't tune their weapons to our defenses because our defenses don't have a single point of failure. We're protected by our own chaos. A sudden impact rocked the ship, sending sparks cascading from overhead conduits. Hull breach on Deck 4, Park reported. Emergency containment holding, but we can't take many more hits like that. Chen's mind raced. The horizon had bloodied the aliens' nose, but they were still massively outgunned. They needed something more than just defensive advantages. They needed a way to hit back. Then she remembered something from her academy days, a lecture about why the Pathfinder-class ships had been retired. Martinez, she called out, the main reactor. It still has the original magnetic containment system, right? The one they said was too unstable for modern refinements. There was a pause on the line. When Martinez replied, her voice was cautious. Yes, but, Captain, you can't be suggesting. Can you modify it? Use their own quantum disruption against them. Martinez paused, and Chen could practically hear the calculations running through her head. Maybe. The magnetic containment fields are already barely stable. If we deliberately push them out of alignment, we could create our own quantum disruption effect. Rodriguez finished, catching on to the idea. But Captain, that's insane. We'd be letting our reactor approach meltdown conditions. Better than waiting for them to tear us apart, Chen replied. Martinez, how long do you need? 10 minutes to modify the containment fields. Maybe another 5 to calculate a safe power curve. Well, a survivable one. Anyway. Another hit rocked the ship. You have 8 minutes, Chen told her. Park, plot us a course through their formation. Rodriguez, divert all remaining power to the engines and forward shields. If we're going to do this, we need to get close. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, their hands flying over physical controls that had been designed for reliability rather than elegance. The Horizon's engines roared back to life, pushing the ancient vessel toward the alien formation. They're targeting our engine section, Park reported, trying to disable us. Let them think that's our weak point, Chen replied. Rodriguez, start an emergency reactor shutdown sequence. Make it look good. Rodriguez nodded, understanding. The shutdown sequence would be visible to the alien sensors, and completely fake. Instead of powering down, they were about to push their reactor beyond its design limits in a way that would make modern safety engineers have heart attacks. Martinez to bridge. Containment field modifications complete. But Captain, this is going to be rough. The magnetic fields are already showing signs of quantum entanglement. Once we start the cascade, we'll only have seconds before our reactor either creates a localized quantum disruption field or turns us into a very brief but spectacular light show. Chen finished. Understood. Stand by. The Horizon plunged toward the alien formation, its engines flickering in a convincing display of imminent failure. The enemy vessels moved to surround them, their perfect formation never wavering. They had no reason to expect anything but surrender from a crippled, obsolete human vessel. That was their final mistake. All hands, brace for extreme turbulence, Chen announced shipwide. Martinez, light it up. The warning. Time seemed to slow as Martinez initiated the reactor cascade. The Horizon's engineering spaces filled with the shriek of protesting metal as magnetic containment fields twisted in ways their designers had specifically warned against. Warning klaxons blared throughout the ship, their usual electronic tones distorting as local spacetime began to fluctuate. Quantum field forming, Rodriguez reported, Her voice strained as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. It's working. The alien vessels, still maintaining their perfect formation, suddenly began to show signs of distress. Their shields flickered with random patterns of energy as the horizon's jury-rigged quantum disruption field expanded outward, creating chaos in the very fabric of space-time around them. Their systems are trying to compensate, Park called out, watching the sensor readings. But they can't predict the field's behavior. It's too random, too human, Chen finished. The aliens had built their technology on perfect quantum stability, on predictable patterns and harmonics. But the Horizon's reactor was now doing exactly what its safety systems had been designed to prevent, creating unpredictable quantum interactions that ripple through space like waves in a pond. Hull temperature critical, Rodriguez warned. The containment fields are starting to collapse. Chen watched as the alien ships began to break formation, their perfect synchronization disrupted by the chaos emanating from the horizon. But they weren't defeated yet, just confused. They needed something more. Martinez, Chen called out, what happens if we pulse the containment fields? Like an old-fashioned electromagnetic pulse, but with quantum fields. There was a moment of silence on the comm, broken only by the sound of emergency vents releasing superheated plasma. That could work. The field harmonics would cascade, create a kind of quantum shockwave. But, Captain, we'd be risking a complete containment failure. Better than letting them recover, Chen replied. Do it. The next few moments were pure chaos. Martinez initiated the containment field pulse, causing the Horizon's reactor to flare like a miniature sun. The quantum disruption field expanded exponentially, its effects visible even to the naked eye, as space itself seemed to ripple and distort. The alien vessels, caught in the wake of this artificial quantum storm, began to lose cohesion. Their perfect forms wavered as their quantum-based technology encountered patterns it couldn't process, couldn't predict, couldn't counter. Multiple system failures detected in enemy vessels, Park reported, his voice filled with disbelief. Their shields are completely down, hull integrity failing. They're actually starting to break apart. But the Horizon was paying a terrible price for this victory. The ship's hull groaned under impossible stresses as reality itself twisted around them. Circuit breakers blew across every deck as power surges overwhelmed safety systems. The bridge lighting flickered and died, leaving only the ethereal glow of emergency chemical lights. Reactor containment at critical levels, Martins reported, her voice barely audible through the static. We have maybe 30 seconds before total failure. Chen keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. That's an order. Captain, Rodriguez protested. We can still. That wasn't a suggestion, Lieutenant. Chen cut her off. Get to the pods. All of you. I'll handle the final sequence. The bridge crew hesitated for a moment, but years of discipline won out. They moved quickly to their evacuation stations, each casting a final glance at their captain before leaving. Chen watched them go, then turned to her console. The Horizon's main computer was offline, but the emergency systems still responded to manual input. She began the sequence that would shut down the reactor, but not before transmitting everything they'd learned. The ship's old-style radio transmitter, technology that predated quantum communications, began broadcasting on all frequencies. Data about the alien weapons, their weaknesses, and most importantly, the fatal flaw in standardized human ship design. All of it pumped into space in simple, unencrypted radio waves that any human vessel could receive. UEF ships, this is Captain Chen of the Horizon. She spoke into the emergency comm. If you can hear this, your quantum communications are vulnerable. Switch to radio frequency. She rattled off the details, watching as the reactor containment readings continued to deteriorate. A new alarm sounded, the distinct tone of the ship's ancient radiation sensors. The reactor was starting to breach. Chen had maybe 20 seconds left before the containment fields failed completely. She took one last look at her bridge, at the worn leather of her command chair, at the physical switches and displays that modern ships had long since abandoned. The Horizon had been called obsolete, outdated, a relic that should have been scrapped years ago. Instead, she had just saved humanity from a threat their advanced technology couldn't handle. "Time to go, old friend," Chen whispered, initiating the final sequence. She turned and ran for the emergency escape pod, the deck plating shuddering beneath her feet as the Horizon prepared for one final act of defiance against an enemy that had underestimated both the ship and her crew. Validation. 3 months after the Horizon incident, Captain Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Fleet Admiralty Board. The chamber was vast, its walls lined with holographic displays showing fleet movements and status reports. Every screen displayed ships being modified, their quantum systems supplemented or replaced with older, more reliable technology. "The alien vessels have not been seen since the encounter," Chen reported, her dress uniform still feeling strange after months in medical recovery. "But their attack pattern suggests this was only a reconnaissance mission. They were testing our defenses, learning our vulnerabilities." Admiral Harrison leaned forward, his weathered face grave. "And thanks to the Horizon, we now understand those vulnerabilities. The standardization of our fleet nearly became our downfall. The Pathfinder initiative has been reactivated," Admiral Patel added, gesturing to one of the displays showing a familiar silhouette. "A new Pathfinder-class vessel under construction. We're incorporating both old and new technologies. Quantum systems where they provide clear advantages, analog backups where reliability is crucial." Chen nodded, watching as more displays showed the changes being implemented across the fleet. Ships were being retrofitted with magnetic accelerator cannons alongside their quantum weaponry. Layered hull designs were being reintroduced. Simple radio systems were being installed as backups to quantum communications. "The Horizon's sacrifice taught us something we've forgotten," she said. "Technology isn't about having the most advanced systems. It's about having the right tools for the job. Sometimes that means the latest quantum computers. Sometimes it means a physical switch that can't be hacked." "Which brings us to the reason we called you here," Harrison said. "We're commissioning a new vessel, the first of a new class, combining the lessons of the past with the innovations of the present." He activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber, showing a ship design that made Chen's breath catch. It looked like the Horizon, but evolved. The familiar lines of a Pathfinder-class vessel were there, but enhanced with modern innovations. Quantum sensor arrays sat alongside conventional radar dishes. The hull was a hybrid design, combining quantum-aligned plates with traditional layered armor. "We're calling it the Phoenix class," Paddle explained, "and we want you to command the first one, the UEF Phoenix." Chen stepped closer to the hologram, studying the design. She could see the influence of the Horizon everywhere, not just in the technology, but in the philosophy. This wasn't a step backward, but a step toward something new, something better. "The Phoenix will carry a piece of the Horizon with her," Harrison added softly. "Literally, we salvaged what we could from the wreckage. The command chair, we thought you might want it back." Chen smiled, touching the hologram where the bridge would be. She could almost feel the worn leather under her fingers, could almost hear the quiet hum of analog displays and the clicking of physical switches. "The aliens thought our older technology was a weakness," she said. "Instead, it showed us the way forward, not by abandoning the past or blindly embracing the future, but by learning from both." The admirals rose, and Harrison stepped forward with a small box. Inside was a new rank insignia. "Fleet Captain." "The Phoenix launches in 3 months," he said. "We're building more, but she'll be the first. A symbol of humanity's adaptability, our unwillingness to be bound by conventional thinking. And a memorial to the Horizon," Chen added, accepting the insignia, "to show that nothing truly useful is ever obsolete." As she left the chamber, Chen's thoughts turned to her scattered crew. Rodriguez was helping design the Phoenix's hybrid power systems. Park was training a new generation of tactical officers in both quantum and conventional warfare. Martins was revolutionizing reactor design with her insights from that final desperate gambit. The Horizon's legacy lived on in them, in the changes spreading through the fleet, in humanity's renewed appreciation for technological diversity. They had faced an enemy that had counted on humanity's drive toward standardization and perfect efficiency. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's greatest strength lay in its complexity, its seeming contradictions, its willingness to embrace both the old and the new. The Phoenix would carry that lesson forward, not just as a memorial to what was lost, but as a beacon lighting the way ahead. A reminder that humanity's path to the stars wasn't a straight line of constant advancement, but a complex web of innovation and tradition, of quantum computers and physical switches, of AI assistance and human intuition. As Chen stepped out into the sunlight, she looked up at the sky where her new command was taking shape. The Phoenix would be ready soon, carrying the best of humanity's past and present into an uncertain future. And when the aliens returned, as she knew they would find a humanity they hadn't expected. One that had learned the value of keeping its options open. One that understood that true advancement didn't mean abandoning the past, but building upon it. One that was ready to face whatever the galaxy might throw at them, with both the wisdom of experience and the daring of innovation. The Phoenix would fly, carrying the spirit of the Horizon within her. And with her, humanity's future would be both old and new, both simple and complex, both efficient and redundant, exactly as it should be.